trying to accomplish here is to reinvigorate the genre. There hasn't been a breakthrough puppet show in decades.
Okay, we're set, and action.
See the wonder, nature's predator, the hunter, as he inches towards his prey. His teeth are deadly weapons. His body a coiled spring, graceful and agile.
Okay, one more time. We actually need to put some sandbags there to stop you going past the mark there.
One of the appeals in reading the scripts is they're written almost as cartoon form, big physical comedy, very fast action, and the appeal then with doing it as a puppet show is creating that cartoon world in a 3D form. So we've been able to build, a huge universe of the forest, the houses, the interiors, exteriors, all to create that 3D cartoon, which is a great challenge.
Here we go. My sons are depending on me. Got to use all of my cunning. Got to dig deep. Got to access my instincts. Got to be a wolf. Oh, okay. I can do this.
Normally in a puppet show, you would hold the camera for a fairly lot and all the puppets would play across the bottom of that frame. And you're always conscious what you're watching as a puppet show, and that's how it is. And from the Muppets on, it's been done like that. What's really nice with this is creating a full three-dimensional world that we can turn around in. So we are shooting it stylistically much more like a normal drama or comedy, with singles over the shoulders, turning around on all four walls of the set and not playing to camera as such. So, when our two characters talk to each other, they talk to each other. We don't cheat it out to talk to camera.
Hi, I just moved in next door and I was wondering, could I borrow one of your children? Just a small one! I'll pay!
By throwing away that sort of flat proscenium shot and the foreground masking and getting tight and intimate with the characters, they become much more believable in their own world. And hopefully we suspend that belief across the whole show.
The funny things with puppets is that they represent constraints from the word go. There's so many problems associated with puppets and bringing them to life, taking something that's essentially inanimate and bringing life to it. And in a way, if those constraints are recognized from the beginning, then things can run a lot more smoothly, and the problems of actual puppets can be anticipated and sort of worked out in advance, if you like. But with this project, and which is what I think has worked out to be one of the best things about this project, is all of those constraints were lifted. So when it was written, it was, forget their puppets, let's just write a drama, a comedy, a series about a bunch of characters. So the writers could put no thought into, no consideration for them. They just generated, as puppets, they just generated them as characters just from the ground up, which is fantastic.
Oh, Lucy, Lucy, you are so juicy. No. Oh, okay. Lucy, Lucy, you are so sprucey. No, too much pie. Oh, okay, this time. There was a young rabbit called Lucy. Hey, Barry, what are you doing? I'm like dying from the inside out. Like the misery of the universe is focused on me and me alone. That's what I thought. It's Lucy, isn't it? You love her. Yeah. Did you try the flowers thing like in the movie? Yeah, it didn't work. So, do what the Dad Badger did next. Look, even if we were both in the sewers at the same time, I don't know if I could find a mutant cockroach to save her from. No, I mean, he bought her loads of presents. And she was so pleased that she kissed him. You want to kiss her because you love her. Just leave me alone, okay? Okay. What am I doing? Barry and Lucy sitting in a tree. K-I-S. P-L.
To realize the character, I wear a harness. The character sits above me and it rests on a pole which goes into a plate on my chest, on the chest area of my harness. And then I wear like a pants section which supports the, which helps distribute the weight, throughout my body. My left arm, or everybody's different, but I choose to use my left arm to move the body around over here, and the right arm to control the head with a control handle at the bottom. And between these two things, you get the majority of the attitude of the head and body, as well as being able to walk around in the physical space. You're not tied down to the ground. So it gives you a great deal of mobility in that aspect as well. Then there's another person that comes behind me who deals with the arms. And the arms are traditional rod type, set up in a traditional rod puppetry way, but they have controls for the closing of the fingers and another control which operates the wrists. So the second person does that, and then the third person is sitting with an animatronic control system, and they operate the facial features, of which there's a whole range, and follow along with the voice track as well. So between the three of you, you're creating a performance, and from there you go into the specific needs of every scene. Just to have 3 characters up on the stage in front of camera takes a minimum of 9 people. So you have 9 people involved in a 3-character setup, 12 people involved in a 4-character setup, often in a space not much larger than the little small area that I'm sitting in right now. And it can get very hot in there. There's lights, there's all kinds of equipment. There's a million cables that you have to be aware of that are running around you. We're plugged into cables as well to the animatronic control systems. And so there's a great awareness of all this gear and people that you're surrounded with. And it's a physical occupation.
The trick to bringing these puppets to life was small movements, really. A lot of puppets, it's all about big bounce, move them fast, shake them around, funny movements. But these guys are big, heavy lumps of rubber on a stick. Ultimately, it makes it very hard to manipulate. But also the scripts are quite subtle and character-driven moments. So what you want is small articulation and interpretation of that dialogue, so that you concentrate and you watch them. And actually we're trying to get subtle emotional moves in them, little head tilts, little body movements, little things that sell really well. And it's a different kind of puppetry, much more delicate than usual puppet shows. But it's now sort of paying off. I believe they're beginning to show a life that sort of reflects the dialogue and the characters very well.
You know, Bunny, I don't think I've ever met a lady quite like you.
Oh, go on. You're just saying that.
Let's make our move before I vomit. You lean over and ask for a kiss, and I'll spring the trap.
Hey, he's a sophisticated guy. I can't just lean over and ask for a kiss.
Would it be terribly forward if I leant over and asked for a kiss?
Help yourself.
Terrapin!
You have a finite instrument in the puppets. You have a set amount of facial features, and you have to make meaning and you have to make expression and drama out of that. It's almost like a violin where you have only 3 strings, but you have to make music out of it. So it's the way you combine the different movements that you have. It's the timing, it's the choices that you make in terms of what the other puppeteers are doing, because you're following the main head and body performer a lot of the time. It's really a question of being in performance mode the same way as you would if you were an actor.
The dialogue was already pre-recorded, so much of what was going to define these characters was already in place. Obviously it had been written, the characters had been designed visually and created as puppets, and we had the audio, so we had the voices already sort of pre-recorded for us, so that in a way that very strongly defined what the characters were going to be. But that to us that just provides kind of an interesting challenge in terms of how to fill in the gaps and how to get more out of what's there. And a lot of what we get character-wise as a puppeteer is when the audio stops and on the cuts and between cuts and things we do in the background and stuff like that. That's when our ad-libs come in, and that's when we can start to make the characters our own, if you like. apart from that, we're kind of, in a way, I guess, we're bound to the audio that's already there, but in a way that's also a very positive thing because it's one less thing for us to worry about, one less thing to think about.
Come on, you want romance? Well, romance costs. And right here is where you start paying in sweat. Come on, give me another 5 minutes.
One more minute and I won't have enough energy to go on this date.
In that case, give me 10.
And you're sure this is standard preparation for a first date?
It's a dating minefield out there, my friend, especially for an out-of-condition blob like you. I wouldn't blame you if you begged me to dump my date and stay here with you for a nice game of Scrabble. I have nibbles.
Thank you, but I think I'd prefer to go on my hot date.
Okay then, lover boy, if that's the way you want it. Back to the books. How to dress for your hot date. How to talk to your hot date. How to hold your spoon when you're eating a hot date.
I know this is all vital stuff, but if I do any more work, I'm just going to fall asleep.
That's why we're also covering how to drop your script.
Keep going, dude.
You can keep
Sorry.
going.
We just started designing and building, and we created environments very, very quickly. And it was, it was basically working every day, sometimes, 14 hours, 16 hours a day to get everything up and running. The construction team worked every day, every weekend, Saturday and Sunday, and somehow it all came together. And basically a week before we were shooting, it still looked like there was nothing in this warehouse, and we got everything together. And the week we started shooting, it's like it all just filled up magically. So. I saw the puppets, and we basically just took the sets and just tried to keep the puppet in mind and keep them all kind of strange looking and organic and wild and make the colors kind of crazy. And we wanted to really create something that looked different than anything you'd seen before on television.
We're shooting on high definition, and we made that decision for a couple reasons. One is the progressive scan that it makes it more like a film camera than a video camera that has the traditional interlacing, and it's one frame at a time, which makes our computer-generated imaging elements a lot easier to pull off, because you don't get little tears around the edge of the interlace. So that's one of the technical reasons we did it. The other reason is, of course, that it has the 16:9 format, which is the format that you see in the theaters, and that's the new format that television is taking. And it just makes beautiful pictures. It really is terrific, and we were real lucky to have a man of Pascal Provost's talent, who's worked with puppets before, to light this for us.
HDTV is amazing because you get to see more than the human eye can actually get, and also is very accurate regarding the colors. And what I like about it is Panavision developed some amazing lenses that are designed to be used with very few amounts of light, so you can actually design your light in a very subtle manner. When we talked with Andy first about the show, we went through a couple of references like The Nightmare Before Christmas and Chicken Run, which are animation projects and not real live action puppets. But what we liked about it was the sort of aspect of fairy tale, mixing fairy tale and reality, like dramatize the lighting as much as we could do for a comedy show that was like going a step further than that's obviously done.
Shooting on high definition was another scary element for me. First time of using these cameras, and from what I've been told, we'd get such sharpness that it would show all our mistakes and problems. But in actual fact, it is better quality than tape normally is. But to a certain extent, the puppets hold up to it. They are beautifully done and nicely resolved, so there aren't any embarrassments on show. It's been great for the CGI, being able to sort of locate those characters into our backgrounds properly. With a normal tape system, there's a slight float to these sort of things, so you're better to be all CG or all puppets. But on this format, the two sit together really well, and the pictures are just beautiful.
The shots will come in 3 variants, really. 2 will come from stage. One will be a green screen element with a live action background where we'll put a CG character into it, or just a straight background where we have to add a CG character. The green screen ones tend to be lock-offs, so we'll get a character that's locked on green screen, and they'll want to put a CG character hanging upside down from his legs on a rope, and they'll give me a live action background for that as well. So it gives us the ability to put the foreground being the puppet, the midground being the CG character hanging upside down, and the background being the actual production footage at that time. The other one we get a lot of is just putting a CG character into a shot where he has to either interact with, run through, do some kind of an action that can't be done. And that also applies to putting props in. We'll have Puppet Rabbit is there and he's just miming like he's juggling, and then we put the carrots in that he's juggling, that kind of stuff. Somebody throws something, we put the thing in, they throw. That sort of action. Or Lucy's standing on top of a table vacuuming the ceiling, I get a plate of the table, then we animate in our character. For us, it involves a lot of tracking. So if you've got CG Lucy standing on her table, we actually have to build a rough maquette or a mock-up of that table so we can actually have our CG character standing on the table properly. So even though it's a lock-off plate, it's still intense, so you have to match that. I get detailed lighting notes and lighting grid plans of where the lights are occurred on that day, so our CG characters match the puppets. And from stage, we'd also get a lighting and a size reference to the puppets to make sure that we do indeed get the lighting correct and that the puppet's size corresponds to the CG character's size. The third variety of shot we get is a pure CG one, where we just have to create the whole thing from scratch. Essentially, we have built, like I said, all the characters in our world. We've also built the 4 major sets as well. So with them, they're already scaled to size with each other, so we can just go ahead and just play out the scene, much like you would a little scene in any other CG show. The timing in animation has been challenging just because the puppets do interact, they actually act in such a specific way that is so unlike CG. So we're constantly, or not constantly, but we stopped doing it now, but in the beginning we were constantly sending stuff back just because it looked different. Not that it was bad, it just didn't look like a puppet. So we had to go back, and the guys were studying puppet animation over and over and over again and trying to get that. They kind of like slow down and drift a little bit because the puppeteer is holding that thing up and it's so heavy that he actually has to move a little bit and shift his weight, and we don't get that in CG. So the guys have had to go through and add a little shake to everything to make them move a little more organically. And then the puppeteers tend to move very quickly when they do move, so we have to mime that as well.
Lucy has bought an action rabbit. Oh, Major Snowy with ground-to-air missiles you can fire at your friends.
Terrapin, she's bought an action rabbit. Don't you see the problem?
Well, clearly the toy is going to leave stains on the carpet. You're right, I don't see the problem. thing must really eat up batteries.
It's nice to be part of something where it's quite rare, as a matter of fact, even with a lot of the big budget Hollywood productions that we're used to working on here in BC, where you end up with something that you're proud of, you know. And I think with this show we really have achieved that.
Just like pieces of latex, and we're just like having so much fun doing it. So I think it looks really good. It looks in a way that it's really alive, and I always try to bring as much life as I can in the lighting, and also in the camera moves and in all the design of the shots. I think it looks totally awesome. I love it.
The scripts are so funny and so multi-layered that everybody can enjoy it, and like a 4-year-old can watch it and relate to Barry and Simon and just think they're dumb, funny kids. And older people like watching The Simpsons, so understand that the concepts and some of the underlying ideas are a little bit subversive and a little bit perverted, and it's really wonderful. It really is family viewing if your family's a little twisted, I guess.